Please give a warm welcome to Eli Sharabi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim ha'em ba'azman hazeh.
While we know it's traditional to recite the Shehechianu only on the first night of Hanukkah, we feel like this is a Shehechianu moment in which we have Eli Sharabi with us sharing his story. It's our first time as a community, a greater community, lighting the Chanukiah together. And so please join us in the words of Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kivanu v'higianu l'zman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kivanu v'higianu l'zman hazeh. Amen. Ma'osur Yeshuati lechana el shabeach tikon beit tefilati v'sham toda nezabeach le'etachin matbeach mitzaram naveach az egmor b'shir mizmor chanukat hamizbeach az egmor b'shir mizmor chanukat hamizbeach.
Happy Hanukkah, everyone. We invite you to take your seats. Eli. Thank you so much for having the courage and the vulnerability to bring your story forward, to bring your story into our lives through your beautiful book, through Hostage, and also bringing your story for 2,000 of us tonight. We are incredibly grateful that you joined us at Sinai Temple with Ma'agalim to share with us the life lessons you gleaned, your messages for survival, your path forward, individually and for the Jewish people. And so what we're hoping tonight is that you'll start us off with before October 7th, life before. You describe normal as having tea in the morning, but also listening to sirens outside. And so maybe you'll share with us a little bit about kibbutz life, but specifically share with us about your beautiful wife, your 2 daughters, and your brother.
Good evening, everyone. So my life in kibbutz Be'eri started in age 16. I arrived from Tel Aviv, and it was exactly like expected. I found amazing community, very supportive, loving and caring, and we had great friends there. And I met Liane after the army. She arrived from England to be a volunteer for 3 months, and we fell in love, and she stayed. We got married and raised beautiful 2 daughters, Noya and Yahel, that had exactly a childhood like we expected and wanted and dreamt for them. Lots of friends, lots of activities among these fields. It was magical for them. Me and Liane used to work in Be'eri print for 20 years. And after that, she became dentist assistant, and she was very happy from this change. And I used to be a manager for Be'eri printers for almost 20 years, and then I did my 2 degrees and become a CFO of Be'eri and business management, and then I was a CFO outside of Be'eri in some companies, and we had really simple and peaceful as a family life. My brother Yossi arrived 20 years ago to Be'eri, and more than 20 years, and raised his family alongside us. And it was, again, a big privilege for me that my brother with me every day. He was all heart, first to help to everyone. And all this heaven turned into hell on October 7 in the morning.
So walk us through the morning of October 7th when you realized that this was not a normal day. Speak through the details until the terrorists enter your home.
We woke up 6:29 a.m. From a red alarm in kibbutz Be'eri, and we picked up our girls to the safe room. And we were sure it's like always, from time to time we had these alarms, and we got used to it, and we thought it would be another 5 minutes and we'll be out and start our day of Simchat Torah. And the alarms didn't stop, and after half an hour we got a message from the emergency team of the kibbutz that announced us that it's a possibility of terrorists that infiltrated Be'eri, and we need to stay in the safe room. But they promised us that the army on its way, so I promised Liane, Noya, and Yahel, try to calm them down, and they probably will finish in half an hour maximum. And of course, it continued. And the videos start to show on TV from Sderot, from Ofakim, from the Nova Festival of young people running for their lives. And it was very difficult to watch it. And then we start to understand it's really not in control, all this situation. But again, we didn't realize it will come massively inside the kibbutz until kids start to send messages on WhatsApp groups of kibbutz, and we know all these kids are friends of Noya and Yahel, and we know their parents, of course, and they start to scream in these messages, help, and somebody shot dad, somebody shot mom, our house is burning, and things like that. And, and we start to notice where it's coming from geographically, from the kibbutz. So we understood that they are on their way into our neighborhood as well. And that was the time that Lian and I made our decision not to resist, and we're not going to fight with them. We don't have any weapons, and we just wanted to protect the girls. We presume that I'll be kidnapped, but they have British passports, and we were sure that will protect them. And that was our plan. And 11:15, more than 4 hours in the safe room, 10 terrorists invaded to our house and opened easily the safe room door. Our dog barked, and they probably got stressed and started shooting in the safe room. Lian jumped on Noya, I jumped on Yahel, just tried to cover them with our body, and shout them to stop in Arabic, and they stopped after 10 seconds. We just checked, nobody got hurt, and we gave them our cell phones like they asked from us, and 3 or 4 of them took Noya and Yahel to the kitchen area. 2 of them grabbed me and hold me, and the rest waited that Lian will get dressed because we were jumped from our bed, and she didn't know what to do with herself and how to take her trousers from the cupboard. I tried to calm her down, and after 3 minutes, I've heard the leader of the terrorist tell to the terrorist that hold me to take me out of the house. So that was the moment I understood I'm going to be kidnapped, and I just turned my head back to my daughters and shout them, I'll be back. And the first thing I saw outside of the kibbutz, it's Yonat and Dror house being burning, and that was shock for me. And on the way to the car, it was something like 200 from my house towards the fence. I've seen more than 100 terrorists coming in and out from every house, celebrating, filming themselves. Some of them tried to hit me on the way to the car. And the moment they pushed me into the back of the car, I did 2 things. First of all, automatically, I don't know why, because I'm not religious, I start to say immediately, Shema Israel. And I haven't stopped for 491 days, every day to say that. Just remember, it gave me loads of strength. And the second thing I've done in the car that I understood I need to count some minutes to understand where they're taking me, because Be'eri is in front of the central of Gaza. I want to understand if we are getting far from this. On the way to Gaza, the car stopped. They put another one on top of me. After half an hour of slow drive, we arrived to our first stop in the mosque.
And so when you go into Gaza, you go to a mosque, and you know you're in a mosque because you see prayer rugs on the floor. But the second stop is actually a house, and on the wall you see UNRWA, UNRWA, a sign on the wall. What did it mean when you saw that sign, realizing that the people that were holding you hostage were actually the people that were supposed to be taking care of other people? This sign we've seen on the wall in the second floor when we arrived to the house.
But before we saw these signs, for 3 days, they chained us with ropes that tore our flesh immediately, and we were lying down there for 3 days. I just remember that the pain was so big, so I couldn't really fell asleep, and I just begged them to take it off, and they didn't, and probably I lost my conscience for 2 or 3 times during these days, and after I woke up, I just remember I'm asking for water and food. And after 3 days, they took it off and they put iron chain on my leg with locks. And this iron chain was with me for 485 days, 24/7. Only a week before my release, they took it off. And me and the guy that was kidnapped with me near Berry, he was a guy from Thailand. He used to work in our fields. His name was Kon. And we've been in this second floor for 52 days and waited for this first ceasefire that had arrived after 48 days on the day of 49. November 24, it started the ceasefire. They explained to us that they are going to release all the women and children, and they promise us after the women and children will be the wounded people, the wounded hostages, and then the civilians hostages, and at the end it will be the soldiers. That's what they explained to us. It was very optimistic moments, I remember, and we just waited for that.
So share with us a little bit about the connections you actually made with your captors. For many of us, it's hard to understand, but the way that you describe in your book is that you were able to connect human to human. And so describe, if you will, kind of the bonds that you made with the father and with his 2 sons that you call the mask and the cleaner.
After these 3 days, they took, we start to see what's happening around us because we were blindfolded until then, and they changed the ropes with this iron chain. I immediately understand that I need to have a kind of relationship with them if I want to achieve a few things, especially food, and them, to be respectful to them, and in this way, them not, let them to humiliate us or hitting us and things like that. So it was very important. So I know Arabic, I understand Arabic, and I start to speak with the father of the house that he used to work in the past in Israel, and he described some streets in Tel Aviv for me, and he told me about people that he knows. So I started to know him and his sons. He had 3 sons. The 2 guys that you mentioned that called the nicknames, that we gave them the nicknames of the mask and the cleaner, they are 2 guys that Hamas sent to this house to guard on us. And we had good conversations with them. At that time, our food was reasonably good, at least 2 meals a day, and they promised the guy that was with me, the Thai guy, Kon, that his kidnap was error, and they didn't mean to do that. It doesn't have anything to do with this conflict, and again, when the ceasefire started, it was very optimistic moments for us that we'll probably go home now.
But then you leave the house, you're taken to a mosque. And at this point, this is where you're now meeting Almag Sarusi. And the 2 of you begin to realize that you're not being released, but rather you're going down into the tunnels. And this is where you're speaking about different mental decisions, and you write, even when you have no control over yourself, even when you have no control over yourself, you always have a choice. So if you'll speak a little bit about the idea of choice and how that helped your survival.
Since day one, since the time in the car, of course, I didn't choose to be kidnapped. But I've tried to choose many, many times how to react to situations. You always have the right to choose what to do. You just need to understand the results of that. And again, that day, they took me and Almog that arrived a day before to the house. They took us to 20 minutes walk, very scary walk in Gaza. Among all these young people that if they would notice that we are not local, probably they will lynch us. And we did this walk, and after 20 minutes we arrived to a mosque. They took us to a side room, and they opened this door on the ground, and I've seen the ladder, and then it clicked that my worst nightmare arrived for me, and I look at Almog and I start to refuse to go down, to climb down like they told me to do. And after 40 seconds of arguing with them, they got upset and loaded their gun and pointed to my head. And that was the moment I remembered my promise to my daughter, that I'll come back to them. So I chose life again. And I needed to be brave and start to climb down to this darkness. And we climbed down, me and Almog, 50 meters underground, and with 4 terrorists, 2 in front of us and 2 behind us. And we walked in these tunnels for 10 minutes. And suddenly we've seen the light in the end of the tunnel, and we start to walk towards that. And it was a big relief, because until then the stress and the darkness was very scary, and we couldn't breathe properly. And when we saw this light, it was a big relief for us. And 5 minutes later, Ori Danino and Hirsch Goldberg Polin arrived to the tunnel. And I've seen Hirsch without his hand, without his left hand. And I was shocked, and he started to explain to me what happened to him on October 7. And 5 minutes later after them, another 3 hostages arrived. It was Elia Cohen, Or Levi, and Alon Noel. And when they've seen Hirsch, they were in shock. He has been with them at that shelter in front of Rahim on October 7, and they were sure he's dead. And they saw this grenade blow his hand. And after that, he's been in the truck with them, covered with a blanket which full of blood. So to see him alive was shocking for them, and they start hugging and crying, and it was a very emotional meeting. And suddenly we've been 7 Israeli hostages in all this darkness, and it was a very optimistic moment. And for me, it was amazing, first of all, to feel this belonging again, to be Israeli and to be Jewish. And it gave me lots of hope that we can survive it together, whatever happened. And we introduced ourselves to each other, and each one of us start to tell who is surviving for. And then Hirsch said to us this sentence, amazing sentence, from Viktor Frankl's book that he read. And he who has a why can bear any how. And it stayed with us for 14 months, and we reminded ourselves that every day, because unfortunately, Almog, Ori, and Hirsch They woke them up 3 days later in the morning and said to them they are going home. And we were very jealous about them. I remember that in the beginning, but just they were very surprised. We hugged them and we said, that's great because the ceasefires continue. Now the wounded people, we're coming after them, and we just hugged them and we said, see you at home. And we were sure for 14 months they are home. Wow. But unfortunately, they moved to other tunnel and been murdered there.
And so in the tunnels, as you develop these relationships with the other hostages, just earlier you said the Shema every day, but you're not religious. But then you wrote about Ori Danina, who came from a religious home. When you had a piece of pita, you told him to recite the Birkat HaMazon, and he said, all of it? And you said, all of it.
Of course.
What was the power of prayer and ritual for you personally, and also the others that you were to get you through those days?
Again, I'm not religious. I came from a traditional family. I was raised that every Friday we went to synagogue and on holidays, and every Friday, of course, it's a kiddush at home. So I know all this blessing by heart. But Ori, that he told me that his father is a rabbi, and so I just forced him. The first day he was with me after the first meal to say this Birkat Hamazon, and it was amazing to feel this together, all 7 of us. And after they took them for 14 months, that was our routine, to start the day with the Birkot HaShachar, with the blessing of the morning. And every day we open with that. But I remember that all of us just waited, counted the days for every Friday. I started with Eshet Chayil to my mother and my sisters. And my wife, of course. And we did kiddush on water because we didn't have wine, of course. And we kept a quarter of pita bread from the day before just to do a motzi. And I remember that how much strength it gave to all of us, because it's for some of us it's the connection with God, but some of us just all these ceremonies just remind them their families and let them to imagine at the same time on Friday evening how the family gathered around the table, and it was very special moments, and it gave us lots of strength. Sometimes it was more than a meal for us.
But it was also so clear how much strength, Eli, you gave the other hostages who were with you. You were just a little bit older than the other hostages. And the way that you described yourself was that, in a sense, that you had to become their father. And so I'm wondering if you'll speak a little bit about what that meant to you, and specifically about your connection, your relationship with Alon.
Yes, the first day we arrived at the tunnels, it was me, that 51 years old then, almost 52, and all the 6 other hostages were between 23 to 27. They're all half of my age, so I understood the role I'm going to take there almost immediately. I understood that it's almost unfair to expect from these young people to have the same tools and same experience I had to manage situations like that, very extreme, and to take some decisions. But I think after an hour of conversation with Alon, I connected specially to him. We found loads in common that we had. We understood that we are sharing the same values. And for me, it was enough to promise him, and he promised me that we'll be together no matter what at this time in captivity, and we are going to survive together. And I promise him he will come back to his parents. But I recognize that he doesn't have, what needs to survive in extreme conditions. And sometimes you need to fight for your food, and you need to fight for your pillow or blanket or clothes, because not everybody think that you need to survive as much as them. So you need to have your stronger opinion there. And we made a great process together. And after a few months, he changed, and he was grown up and more resilience. And I was very, very proud of him. And the day of my release, 4 days before that, I left him at that tunnel. It was a very, very difficult moment for me. After 14 months I've been with him, we were chained together, leg to leg. We share the same blanket, we share a pillow, we share the same mattress. It was very, very special. It was a very hard moment to leave him. We cried a lot. They needed to separate us, to use force to separate us. I promised him I'll fight for him until the day he'll come to release him. And in the meantime, I will be with his family and tell them how brave he is and how much he changed, and he's capable to survive that.
We're going to return back to the story in just a moment, but I'm wondering if you'll share a little bit with everyone now about your current connection to Alon.
My what, sorry? My current connection. Well, Alon was released 3 months ago already. It was amazing moments to see him on his legs, smiling on the same day. Was very, very special. I didn't know if he's angry or upset with me because it took 8 months to release him. But I woke up a day after and I got a message that he wanted to see me. So I rushed to the hospital. It was a very emotional meeting again, lots of crying. We hold hands for 1 hour. And since then, we don't leave each other. We meet a lot. We speak every day. It's for life.
So one of the pieces of advice that you gave the younger hostages was the exact opposite that we were all feeling when we were speaking from this bima during your captivity. You told them that we're not the unfortunate ones, that the unfortunate ones are our loved ones that we have to come back to. How did you make that switch in your head to tell the hostages that you were with that they're unfortunate and we're going to get back to them to make them fortunate again?
It was very important for me to explain to these young guys that it will not be any self-pities in that tunnel. Self-pity does not belong to a situation that you need to survive. In survive, you need to be optimistic. You need to do, to think about things that give you strength and hope. And it's okay to cry, it's okay to break, no problem, but we never lose hope. So you can cry for 5 minutes, but then you need to come back and share and talk and smile and do our routine. That was the agreement. I got lots of criticism in the beginning about that. How can I separate my emotion from this? But I was on my mission. The first moment I left my house, I was on a mission to survive and to come back to my daughters. That's what I promised them. And you know, I have this experience to separate emotions from decisions and from missions, you know, through 20 years of management. And so I did it, and it was very important. And when I saw, especially the last 6 months, they reduce our meals to 1 meal a day. And when I say meal, it's, you need to understand, it's only bowl of rice or bowl of pasta or 1.5 pita bread that's very dry. And after you finish it, you're waiting at least 24 hours for your next meal. I arrived on October 7 to Gaza. I was more than 70 kilo. And on the day of my release, I was 44 kilos. And but during this time of 6 months, 180 days, think about it. When you think about Yom Kippur, you eat this big meal to fast for 24 hours, and we did it on a bowl of rice, but we did it 180 days non-stop, day after day. But during this time, I understood that we need to do something differently to cheer everybody up and to stay optimistic, because it was very tough moments, definitely very tough days. So I announced them, I almost forced them to think about at least one good thing in the end of the day that happened to them the same day. And they look at me like I'm a lunatic, and they were sure that I lost it. As I said, I was almost forcing them to say that, and I knew it's like a muscle that you need to work on. And after 3 weeks, each one of them start to collect at least 3-4 things. Each one of them, not all of them, each one of them, 3 to 4 things that happened to him in the same day. And it was an amazing process. It was very optimistic, routine to have. I'm very proud of them, really.
Maybe you can expand on that a little bit more. You explained that with these terrible, terrible, unimaginable conditions in the tunnel, no food, terrible hygiene, you started to turn against each other, that there's a lack of patience. How do you recover who you are when you start to turn on each other because of the situation you're put in?
As I mentioned, it's very extreme conditions, and when you put 4 grown-up guys in 10 square meters, that humiliated every day on daily basis, and some of the time you suffer from violence, and you're chained 24/7. And the hygienic condition is awful, and you're very filthy. You get a shower every 6 weeks, half bucket of cold water, no soap, no toothpaste, and of course the starvation. It's can make you very upset and angry and not very patient to each other. And you understand you need to manage this situation. And we start to set some rules that make sense and some order in this place. And this is understood that it has to be, otherwise it will be a chaos. And it was very important that we can survive together.
And so when you reunite with Ohad, your fellow neighbor, and someone you worked with at Beirut, he's the one that confirms that Yossi, your brother, Zichronah Livracha, has died. You find out from the Israeli social worker that your mother and sister are waiting for you, but not your wife, Leanne, or your daughters, Yehel or Noya. But still, you don't break down. In those moments, how do you cope?
The day of the release was, it's like emotional roller coaster. A day that you imagine and dream for 491 days, the day of your release, and you're sure it's going to be the happiest day ever. And of course, they let me know about Yossi, and then about Lian, Noya, and Yahel. And it's become, all this loss, like a 5-kilo hammer on your head. And and you almost cannot understand and get all this. But I remember that after 5 minutes, again, I knew I have the choice again to let this loss and grief to bury me, or to find my way to move on. And I knew I want my family with me at the same moments to hug me, and because I knew who gave me strength in that situations. So I just wanted to see my mother and my sister that waiting in Reim camp, and after that, my brother Sharon and my sister Ila in the hospital. And since then, I'm surrounded circles of love and support for my family that fought for me for 500 days and stopped their life. And my dearest friends that stopped their life as well and support my family. And then I found about hundreds of thousands of Israelis that went out to the streets and marching and praying for us, and people that you never know, and they cared for me and support my family, and that was amazing to understand all this. And then I started to go abroad to speak and meet prime ministers and parliament members and presidents, and I meet dozens of Jewish communities, really loads of Jewish people, and to see their solidarity with Israel's state and with the Israelis. It's very warming, moving, and you almost can't understand that people, hold your photos thousands of miles from Israel and praying for you and for your release, and it's amazing. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for these people. So because of that, I'm waking up every morning and choose life, because I don't have the privilege to stay in bed and cry all day, because all this love. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ask you one more.
Okay, thanks.
You're probably going to get up one more time because we want to conclude with one more question. First of all, Eli, I just want you to know that every single person here, I know I can speak on their behalf, we prayed for you every single day. And we are so, so grateful that you're home. And so I'm hoping that you'll share with the congregation this evening regarding Ma'agalim, what we learned this evening, what can we take home tonight, especially on Hanukkah, as your message of hope to the Jewish people.
You know, in these extreme conditions, in captivity, and all this darkness around me, I'm very optimistic, so I knew there's some lights that I need to look for. And when you understand something like that, you start to find these lights, and you know and you understand it's around you, and you just need to look for it. And darkest moments, it's only moments. There's other moments in life that will be very happy and optimistic. And I'm telling you, just appreciate all the basic things in life. Appreciate your freedom, that you're able to choose whatever you want in your day, how much to eat or drink, and where to go. Appreciate the family and your friends that are around you, because you never miss material things when you're 50 meters underground. You don't miss your car or house or your bank account. You miss your friends and family, and that was the most important thing I've learned.
And so to conclude this evening, we're going to sing. We're going to sing, of course, the anthem of our people, Hatikva, and Am Yisrael Chai. And to do that, we're going to invite our future, amazing teen leaders in our community, our David and Angela Nazarian Teen Fellows and our Barron Scholars Fellows, if they are here, to please join Eli and Rabbi Guzik and myself on the bima, as well as our clergy with Rabbi Taff, Cantor Feldman, and Benjamin Fingerhut. Please rise as our teens come forward to join Eli in the singing of Hatikva and Am Yisrael Chai.
Israel chai. On Davinu chai. On Davinu chai. On Davinu, on Davinu, on Davinu chai. On Davinu chai. On Davinu chai. On Davinu, on Davinu, on Davinu chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael 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 chai.
On behalf, testing. Testing. On behalf of Sinai Temple and Ma'agalim, thank you everyone for coming tonight.